The work has now shifted to a recovery mission. Sadly, there are no survivors. This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly.
Now at 4, the grim task of recovering the remains of crash victims and evidence continues in the cold waters of D.C.'s Potomac River. Sadly, it is believed that not one of the 67 people survived when an Army Black Hawk helicopter and passenger jet on approach into Reagan National Airport collided midair late last night.
So here's the very latest. Several federal agencies are now investigating how these two aircraft wound up on a collision course. According to the FAA, staffing in the air traffic control tower was, quote, not normal. However, the FAA says the staff that they had is permissible and it does not violate any guidelines.
The NTSB says staffing and really every aspect of what happened is obviously still under investigation. A news conference with the NTSB just wrapped up less than half an hour ago, and we're going to get to all of it.
So we begin with Brian Abel in Washington, and we do have a warning that some of the images you're about to see could be disturbing.
American Airlines says Flight 5342 from Wichita, operated by PSA, was on approach to land at Reagan National Airport when it and an Army Black Hawk helicopter from the 12th Aviation Battalion, similar to this one, collided in flight.
It was a fairly experienced crew, and it was doing a required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles.
There was not a breakdown in communication between the military helicopter and American airline flight. There was communication between the aircraft and the tower.
Among the PSA jet's passengers, several athletes, coaches, and family members returning from a development camp with U.S. figure skating. In a statement, the governing body said it is devastated by this unspeakable tragedy. At the White House, President Donald Trump addressing the tragedy.
As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken.
But he also pointed fingers.
I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. The FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so.
When asked for evidence why DEI could be a factor.
Because I have common sense, okay?
This morning, the president appointed a former senior aviation official as the FAA's acting administrator. That role, among others at the agency, were left empty following resignations ahead of Trump taking office. In Washington, Brian Abel reporting.
Now, the passengers on the plane include 14 members of the U.S. ice skating community.
As you just heard there, they were returning from skating events in Kansas. Anne Marie joins us now with what she's learned about those lost. Anne.
So tough. You know, you hear about the number of people and then you start to learn about their stories, and it's just so devastating. You know, the U.S. Skating National Championships were something that was hosted in Wichita, Kansas over the weekend. And after that competition that wrapped up on Sunday night, they had this development training camp for some of the future stars of the sport. And now we're learning that 6 people from a skating club in Boston stayed on to participate in that camp in Kansas. And then they're the ones who are on the flight to D.C. yesterday. Lost are 2 teen figure skaters, their mothers, and these 2 coaches. The coaches were married and former pairs champions. They moved here from Russia. The news hit hard at the skating club in Boston where the coaches worked with the young skaters.
Skating is a very close and tight-knit community. These kids and their parents, they're here at our facility in Norwood 6, sometimes 7 days a week. It's a close, tight bond, and I think for all of us, we have lost family.
So tough. The statement from U.S. Figure Skating today confirming the loss and issuing the statement saying in part, we're devastated by this unspeakable tragedy and hold the victims' families closely in our hearts. so tough. And there's even more connections and, you know, blessings and things in these stories is who was on the plane, who wasn't on the plane. So ahead coming up at 5, we're going to have why the coach's son, who also skated in the competition and actually got 4th on Sunday, why he was not on the plane. And we also have the really big post and last pictures that the parents made about their son and accomplishments before they got on the flight. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And
Shocking.
It is shocking.
And it brings it to a whole new level when we see the pictures of their faces and are learning their names and all of these stories they're going to be coming out in the coming days.
Right. Family is just forever torn apart.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for just bringing us the connection and helping tell these family stories. We'll get to that. We'll get back to that.
Thanks, Ian.
So last night's Midair collision marks the first fatal disaster involving a U.S. commercial plane in 16 years.
It's also raising new questions about air traffic around Reagan National Airport, which is home to the nation's busiest runway. Ryan Nobles has that part of the story.
This morning, search and rescue efforts are still ongoing following that disastrous mid-air collision between an American Airlines regional carrier and a military Black Hawk chopper near Reagan National. Investigators already beginning the difficult work of trying to determine what led to last night's crash. The last major accident involving a U.S. commercial airliner 16 years ago, Colgan Air Flight 3407, a Bombardier regional jet crashed on approach to Buffalo, New York, killing all 49 people on board and 1 on the ground. Investigators determined pilot error was to blame. But the inquiry highlighted serious problems facing regional carriers, including grueling work schedules for pilots, long-distance commutes, and exhaustion. Investigators believe neither pilot in the Colgan air crash had slept well the night before, after commuting long distances cross-country. That accident triggered the first FAA rule change to address pilot fatigue in nearly 5 decades, including a maximum duty day for pilots of 9 to 14 hours, maximum flying time of 9 to 10 hours, and more rest time between flights. Last night's crash evoking another disaster in the Potomac more than 4 decades ago. In 1982, Air Florida Flight 90, a Boeing 737, crashed into a bridge just seconds after taking off from National Airport in a blinding snowstorm, leaving 78 dead. 5 people escaped the wreckage in the icy river, with cameras capturing the dramatic rescues. Investigators found the flight crew's failure to properly de-ice the aircraft before takeoff likely caused the crash, leading the FAA to change de-icing regulations for airlines nationwide. Another big question investigators and lawmakers will be confronting in the weeks and months ahead is Reagan National Airport over capacity. With the busiest runway in America, the airport has experienced a series of near collisions in recent years. Last May, American Airlines Flight 2134 had been cleared for takeoff, speeding down the runway. At the same time, a smaller private plane was landing on an intersecting runway, forcing the American jet to slam on the brakes.
American 2134, cancel takeoff clearance. 0 Alpha, go around.
1 month earlier, a JetBlue plane nearly collided with a Southwest plane, the 2 jets coming within 1,000 feet of each other.
Our coverage of the deadly midair collision continues ahead at 4. We're talking to someone, in fact, we're going to be talking with senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez with NBC coming up in just a moment. He's going to be monitoring the latest developments for us, and we will hear from him coming up in just moments. On to some of the other headlines this afternoon. Today, we learned an Indianapolis mother has been charged in the death of her 2-year-old daughter. You may remember this. Last Saturday, Metro Police responded to an apartment complex on the city's northeast side near Shadeland Avenue. 33-year-old Chantel Gardner called 911 saying she found 2-year-old Skylar unresponsive and not breathing. Officers found the home in disarray with trash on the floor alongside steak knives. Officers say Skylar was cold to the touch when they found her. They say she was also covered in bruises and injuries. Now, Chantel faces murder and neglect charges. Her boyfriend faces a charge of assisting a criminal.
All right, we got to talk about weather. Here's a check of outside, a look at downtown Indianapolis, and we saw a cloudy one, which is a little bit different from what the rest of this week has looked like.
And rain on the way.
Rain here in some locations. Some places are already picking up rain. Now that's going to impact your evening commute for sure. We're going to have some wet roadways, I think, through tonight, and even for the morning commute tomorrow, we still got to deal with rain. But the temperatures are extremely mild, or at least they will be. They're continuing to warm up. We've got some south winds that have kicked in, and there's the rain. You can see the larger shield of this, and what you're really going to notice here is that the bulk of this is a little farther to the south, and that will probably be the case with this entire system as it moves through, as it looks like really Indianapolis is going to be the dividing line. That's not to say that the whole state won't receive rain, but it certainly looks like the bulk of this will be south of Indy. That's where we're expecting the heaviest rainfall amounts. We are seeing some rain showers ongoing. We've already seen some rain to the north. Tipton had some showers move through, moderate showers for the most part. These will continue through the evening, likely into the overnight. We may get a bit of a break here and there, but expect rain over really the next 24 hours or so before we wrap this up. 44 is where we sit currently, and temperatures not going to drop a whole lot for tonight. So we may see the temperatures go back down into the low 40s at times, but really we're going to hold the temperatures where they are thanks to these south or southeast winds that have kicked in, and the rain continues through the next 8 hours or so. And then looking ahead to tomorrow, we start in the 40s, so we're not getting down below freezing for tonight, which is a bit of good news. Tomorrow we're looking at rain chances staying in our forecast with temperatures getting into the mid to low to mid 50s depending on where you are. And again, look at that rain chance. It's there even through the afternoon commute, although I think it is going to determine where you are located is going to determine how much rain you will see. And I'll have that for you coming up. We'll break it down in Future Track for you. Let's talk traffic, because overall, at least in Indianapolis, we're not seeing much in the way of too many problems. A couple of minor accidents that have shown up here, but starting to see the volume increase on 70 eastbound. Also on 465 on the north side of town. This is a ramp here at, it says West Street, but it's essentially the Missouri Street exit. Was a little bit of a slowdown there, at least on the interstate. Also, you are looking at Interstate 70. This is eastbound traffic that's coming towards you, heading into the merge with 65 right there at the south split. You can still see a little bit of snow on that northern face, but overall traffic moving okay, but a little bit on the slow side.
All right, Rob, thank you. Back to our breaking news out of D.C., where the search continues for victims of that deadly midair crash involving a helicopter and an American Airlines jet.
Joining us live from Arlington is senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. Gabe, thank you for joining us, and tell us what's the latest on this investigation.
Hi there, Felicia and Dustin. Good afternoon. It is a very somber afternoon here at Reagan National Airport. Behind me is the Potomac River, and as you mentioned, investigators are still searching for clues, but also still searching, unfortunately, for human remains. As we understand that some 28 bodies have already been pulled from the water, and that investigation is just beginning. A short time ago, we heard from NTSB investigators, again with the National Transportation Safety Board. They say that they have yet to find the flight data recorders, those black boxes that all too often provide so many crucial details about what went wrong. And that is the big question at this point, was what caused that military aircraft to collide with that jetliner. 67 people are dead. There's 60 passengers, 4 crew members of that small regional jet, and then 3 servicemen and women on that Army Black Hawk. Still a lot of questions at this point, but again, the investigation just beginning.
Yeah, so many people just desperate to find out what happened. In the meantime, Gabe, do we know anything more about the victims?
We are learning more about the victims, and this plane came here from Wichita, Kansas. The mayor there saying that our hearts are heavy today, and there was a community-wide prayer vigil just a short time ago. Now, there were several members of the figure skating community that were on that plane, at least 6 of them from the Skate Club of Boston, as well as some members. This is really having an international impact. Some Russian figure skaters were also involved. These figure skaters were coming back from a competition in Wichita, Kansas, and has just been devastating as we're starting to learn more about some of these victims.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, thank you so much. We appreciate you live on the ground there in Washington, Arlington. And we know that Gabe will be alongside NBC Nightly News and Lester Holt. They'll be reporting from the scene, digging into this investigation and the latest developments. That starts at 6:30 tonight, right here on WTHR.
We'll be right back.